You're listening to Aggressive Self-Love. Can you not get, jazzed up after an intro like that? Hello, everybody. I'm Jay. I'm your host. The purpose of this podcast, just so you were aware, is about a journey of like self-discovery in a way. I'm mainly going to talk about things that as they relate to me or, experiences. Oh, Discord message. Already popular. Kidding. Be that emotional empathy, learning how to just live like a normal human being, because that can be so fucking hard sometimes, and, you feel like, man, I'm like almost fucking 30 and I still don't know how to like treat people. And that can be really sobering to learn about yourself, and some people, like, they don't want to talk about it, especially guys, because, men are discouraged from just discussing their feelings, which is unfortunate because, they suffer in silence. And as one who's dealing and learning these things as I go, I want to help anybody that can relate to the things I say. If it does even like a 1%, if it has like even a 1% chance of helping someone, then, I like those odds, but yeah, so there isn't really an agenda I had in mind, especially because it's the first episode. I feel like it's kind of better to just, get some introductions out of the way and, tell a little bit about myself. Lord knows I like to talk about myself, so figure might as well put it to good use, right? You have to excuse me. I gave up smoking cigarettes and I switched over to these little vape sticks, and, I gotta say, they're not bad. I always think about it though, because I kind of find myself holding it like a cigarette still, which is, I guess it's giving that like hand to mouth motion. If you're a cigarette, then cigarette's like your cigarette. If you're a cigarette smoker, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it kind of provides that, and it's at the right nicotine strength. The flavors are decent. What the hell is this one? Pink lemonade. Figure that out. imagine going up to somebody in like 1950 and being like, hey, check this shit out. Their head would explode. They would just fall over dead, because that would just be such a mind-blowing experience for them. And it's kind of interesting when you think about things that are normalized now that weren't normal 100. You don't even have to go that far back. You can go back 20 years even, and things have changed. I'm 29. And, even I can remember that, back then, how much different things were pre 9/11. Like, oh my God, being able to just go to the airport, get on a plane and leave, instead of having to play security theater for an extra hour or to hour and a half, being like, ooh, look, guys, I'm not a terrorist. As if a terrorist is going to be, they're going to see the rules and be like, no, shit, I guess it's off, guys. They made a rule. And, you hear those stories where they send guns through, in a sting, and they get right through. It's like, that's gotta feel great. You imagine being that supervisor. Holy shit. He just comes to the door. Fuck. Oh man. Excuse me. Yeah, so, it's going to be more laid back. I don't want this podcast to be super rigid. I feel like that's kind of what kills podcasts in some ways, is they get super regimented and they get super uniform, and every episode sounds exactly the same because it's the exact same layout. And uniformity is nice, but every once in a while, a little bit of randomness is kind of nice too, but the right kind of randomness, not chaotic evil. You're looking for, if anything, chaotic neutral. I'm not really sure, but yeah, that's what we got so far. Let me take a drink of my drink here. Yeah, so I was reading a story today. I saw a new story. I know it's kind of off topic. It's exactly what we were talking about, but this gentleman, it looks like he, and I'll just read the title here. A California man has been convicted of killing a foot doctor whom he accused of botching the treatment of his wife's ingrown toenail, leading her to have her foot partly amputated and then die. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've had ingrown toenails before, and that is not a fun party. But it's just if that doesn't sound like the next Hollywood blockbuster, like trying to turn it into like a comedy thing, I don't know. I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Like, in those situations, I'm always like, well, obviously, in the eyes of the law, he's broken the law and is guilty of a crime and has to serve punishment. And then there's like the emotional side that's like, I mean, of course he did, like, you know, and I don't think it's wrong to have those, just to have that thought in your head initially. Like, that's a natural thought, but you know, to let the more reasonable, factually based side of your mind to be like, no, you know what, he broke the law. He's got to do the time, and that's what, you know. I always understand everybody's responses, but it's like, well, you know, what's the saying? The two wrongs don't make a right. And you're like, man, yeah, but sometimes it sure looks like it does. You know, and that's, you know, it's kind of fascinating to me how people as a whole relate to each other, in the sense of, like, we all just exist together under the agreement that we will all live in peace. We will go to our jobs. We will, you know, just, we all agree to do the same thing parallel to each other and just not fuck with each other. Well, the most of us do here. Excuse me. And and isn't that weird though? Like, humanity in of itself is just a mind-blowing existence. Just, we started out as from the primordial soup, just little single-celled organisms, all the way up into, like, you know, now we're the apes, and you know, we're doing monkey stuff, and you know, grabbing things like that raccoon, like those apes did to that raccoon in the zoo enclosure. They just grabbed it and you just frisbeed it across the enclosure. And then that's, you know, that's at one point that was peak evolution of, you know, the apes, and then next thing you know, it's holy shit, this one just figured out how to grab stuff. Like, it's just, and just the increases, it almost makes you wonder where the ceiling is. Like, is there a ceiling? Is there a point where we're gonna be like, okay, everything else that could be accomplished is beyond our reasoning, and we're hitting a wall? You know, our understanding is limited by our technological advances. And you know, it's interesting how that works, because that's always like, with any culture, that's what holds them back, or any society, I should say. You know, that's what holds them back, is the limits of their wow, I can't talk. Technological advancement. You know, the Sumerians with their cuneiform basically inventing a writing language. Like, yeah, they had a language and it was significant, but at the same time, it's like they didn't last forever. They didn't stay on top just because they had a written language, because eventually everybody had a written language, so it wasn't an edge anymore. And we're getting to that point where it's like the you know, first world, if you will, quote unquote, enjoyed a period where, you know, it was prosperity. You know, they were cutting edge things coming out. It seemed like every 6 months there was a new technology that wowed the world. And you know, now we're getting to the point where every other country in the world is starting to get to the point where they're able to either produce or, you know, import things. And like that what do you call it, that gap in economic technological advancement, I guess, is starting to even out. And eventually, you know, everybody's going to have the exact same technology and the exact same capabilities and the exact same, you know, it just needs the right leader in positions to influence that to happen. But anyway, is what's going to be the next thing that drives innovation. That's always fascinated me. So that's enough rambling about economics and morality, I guess. I'm not really sure. Let me go ahead and get another drink here so we can get started in on this fresh. Whoops, hit the mic stand. A true professional to the end. So, you know, I guess I'm going to talk a little bit about myself here. Give a little backstory. I was born in California to a very conservative, excuse me, a very conservative Christian household, and raised very sheltered in 5 acres in the middle of nowhere, with one neighbor. I believe his name was, we'll change his name, we'll call him Kevin. We'll call him Kevin just to be nice. I think he's a police officer now, so let's be considerate, I guess. So Kevin was his name, and he had a sister. We'll call her Carrie. Kevin and Carrie. That's easy to remember. And I remember they were like the only two people we had to, me and my sister, had to play with. And it's kind of weird, like what that does to you as a person, because when they're not available, you're by yourself. They say go outside and play. You're like, okay, well, I guess this stick is now my M16, and those weeds over there where the Viet Cong are hiding. You're just playing by yourself for hours. And it's interesting because then once you're older and you kind of leave that sheltered environment, and you start hanging out with people, or you try to, at least in my case, because I suffer from very bad social anxiety, and I do think that part of that is just because I was by myself. I never really got good at interacting with people. Granted, I've gotten a lot better as I've gotten older, but um, it can be really hard to, sometimes even just being in the same room with people is enough to, get you on edge, um, and it's hard to explain. Like if you don't experience it, it's really hard to explain to people. As anyone who uh, suffers from the same set of circumstances can tell you, it's the most frustrating part. Is you try to, people go, why you look depressed? Or they go, how are you okay? You go, yeah, I'm depressed. They go, why are you depressed? And you're like, don't worry about it. No, I want to know. And you tell them, and then they look at you like you're a crazy person. And that's kind of daunting the first time it happens, and you're like, well, am I crazy? And it kind of just throws everything you know about yourself out the window, at least for me. um, yeah, so then went to high school. Was homeschooled, I should say. Start from the beginning. I was through preschool all the way to junior year. I was homeschooled. um, yeah, that was an experience. And then I went to traditional high school for junior and senior year, and that was after much begging to be put into a school system because I was so tired of being at home all the time and like almost never leaving the house. And it's like we're in the middle of nowhere. Leaving the house is really the only thing we have for entertainment. Um, but yeah, so we did that. And that was fun. That's a whole different story. I think what I'm going to do for the first couple of episodes, now that I'm thinking about it, is I think I'm going to do like a progression where we'll start with young childhood and progression into like, so we'll start out with like childhood, then we'll do like teenage years, then we'll do like early adulthood, and just break it down that way. And you know break down any pertinent information that I can think of from those time periods, because I'm almost 30. That was feels like forever ago. It's probably it's really not, but yeah. So childhood, mom and dad. Father was a first responder, so he was gone a lot. Naturally, if you're not familiar with how certain first responders operate, they do 24-hour shifts. I guess I could just say he was a fireman. I guess I could just say that. He worked 24-hour shifts, sometimes 48-hour shifts, depending on how the demand was. So he would be gone. I would be left at home with me, my mother, and my sister. Now, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. I should also mention that these are my adoptive parents. I was given up for adoption at a very young age. They adopted us, but for the sake of ease, I'm just going to call it mom and dad for this whole thing. So, and there's a reason why I feel the need to clarify that, because when we get into the later chapters, we're still in childhood, of course. I'll be able to break that down a little bit more. But yeah, no, it's weird when you're a kid. Like, you feel so carefree, or like looking back as an adult, you're like, man, I was so carefree. I didn't have any concerns or any worries. But then there's like someone like me, where I would look at it and go, wow, I remember all the times I was stressed as a child, like legitimate stress without having a word to put for it. And And stress is so scary because not only can it kill you early and or give you a heart attack if it's extreme enough, but stress is just, it's like such a weight, you know, it feels like a pressure in your chest, and you literally have to will yourself out of it, or, you know, be it by, you know, mental fortitude, or like mental fortitude is not the right word, sheer will, like you're just like, I'm not gonna, you try to tell yourself you're just not going to be stressed. Some people have that, you know, the mantra or what have you that they'll say, but that doesn't work for me. And then there's chemically, which is how I choose to handle it. I'm currently on medication for generalized anxiety disorder, another one for major depressive disorder, and then the first one I take is also to combat PTSD. So there's it's interesting. It's interesting looking back. You know, it always looking back with rose-colored glasses. You know, which is I have a tendency to do. I don't know about all y'all, but I'll look back at, you know, and be like, wow, I really didn't have to worry about fuck all back then. I wish it was like that now. But in reality, would I really want to be back then? Fuck no. You're basically just an inmate at that point. You're. Whoop, my chair's making funky noises. Stop it. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, apparently it's just rebelling against me. Um, Lost my train of thought. Wow, see how quick it goes? This is what happens when you have a big dumb unga bunga caveman brain like I do. You know, it comes in and then it's just boop, gone in a second, and I totally lose my train of thought. This is going to be a trend, I'm going to let you know right now. Alright, taking it off the bed here. The Nick stick, as I've come to call it. Although if I'm not careful, it sounds like I'm saying Nick's dick, but that's not what I'm saying, I assure you. Nick stick. Can I be very clear about that moving forward? Yeah, so that's the journey thus far. I never really know how long to make these things, because, you know, it's like, do I go for an hour? Do I go for 20 minutes? Do I go for a half hour? Like, do I keep them short and then I can post them every day? Because I don't know if I can dedicate an hour, you know, to record. Or not every day, maybe once a week. I think I'll start putting these out on. I don't know if I want to set a day or if I just want to be like, it'll be once a week an episode will come out, because that seems like more to my style. Again, I'm not so good with every day at this time. It comes out at this date. Like, honestly, a little more laid back than that. But, you know, I think the mic setup is better, and I think it's clear. There might be some noises every once in a while because I'm in kind of a confined desk area, kind of, sort of, not really, but yeah, I mean, I think this could be a lot of fun, and, you know, there's definitely even the possibility of having guests on at some point, so we can talk about things, so it's not just, you know, my voice. Give you guys some relief so you don't have to suffer for 20-30 minutes listening to me jabber on about whatever thing my, once again, caveman brain decides is what we're going to talk about. But yeah, so I need a drink, honestly. All that talking, I'm getting parched over here. I'm not really sure if 20 or 30 minutes is the, you know, the length I'm going for. Like I said, we're doing this by the seat of our pants. Weird sentence, like, it's a weird statement. I never really like, I know what it means, but, like, where did that come from? There's sayings like, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Like, who the fuck? Who's the guy that's like, hey guys, you can skin a cat more than one way, check this out? And they're like, wow, that's great. It's, in fact, it's so useful, we're going to use that as a saying for literally anything that you can do more than one way. Like, okay, sure. It's weird how that stuff just, like, sticks around and now it's a thing, like memes. Like, I consider myself so grateful to have been born early enough that I was around to see memes become a thing. You know, waxing nostalgic about memes is really funny, but, like, the early days of the Rage comics and all that stuff, and how it just became an inside joke that everybody on the internet knows, and it, you know, talking about memes, I saw one the other day. It was some cartoon character making like a sad, shocked face, and it said, "When there's a violent double homicide in my neighborhood," and then on the bottom half it shows them smiling with their eyes glittering, and it says, "When I find out the quote unquote victims," it says quote unquote victims, "were a straight couple," and I'm like, okay, so. My initial response to that was like, I believe I actually tweeted at it, and I had said, you don't seem to understand that memes are not a tool to flex a psychopathy. It's a tool to tell a joke that everybody on the internet knows is a joke, or to, equate, or to, relate to us with a relatable situation. And this one does neither. Like, I don't know. And that's not even a political thing. It just seems kind of weird to, like, be openly, and even if it is a meme, it's like you're still like being like, yeah, 2 people died, isn't that funny? And it's like, well, I mean, I don't care, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, I care, but you know what I'm saying. It's just weird. It just rubs me the wrong way. I don't know, maybe that's a me thing. Which is something that we will talk about later as well, in terms of whenever we finally get to talking about the journey to acquiring emotional empathy, which is, or I keep saying empathy, emotional intelligence. I can't talk today. I swear that's the 3rd time I've made that mistake today. So, I'm on a roll, if you can't tell. And I'm just going to lie and say everything's going according to plan. It'll be our little secret nobody knows. Yeah, so I don't know. I might set up a Patreon or something. I don't know. We'll see where this goes. I'm not even sure where I'm going to upload this yet, but once I do have a spot, I will definitely be sure to post there regularly. We're going on 21 minutes. Yeah, we could talk a little bit more here. I think it is time for a little water, though. Whoops. Not me just dropping the cap to a water bottle. Man, you drop those things, they have like the absolute ability to roll like way better than anything I've ever seen. You drop a water bottle cap and it's like it makes a getaway. Like it acts like it just pulled off a heist and it's getting to the getaway car outside your house. You're like, where are you going? You don't have thumbs. What's your plan? It's kind of it feels great to do this again. I had a podcast way back in 2008. Way back. It wasn't that long ago, but it feels like a long time ago. And the way the scene has changed since then, where everybody and their mom has a podcast. It used to be there were like 20. And then they exploded, and it's like Kevin Smith always said. He said it's free right now. Like now's the time to do a podcast because it's free, and they're kind of right. I mean, look at the amount of money that's been spent to recently, when Joe Rogan got acquired, how much money Spotify spent. Like, that's insane to me. I never ever thought that would be a thing. If you'd asked me 10 years ago, hey, will Spotify spend, what was it, a couple million? Probably a lot more than that, let's be honest. To acquire him, I would have called you, said you're fucking insane, And then we had the recent, what do you call it, proclamation from the CEO of Spotify, basically talking about how creators now are going to be getting, they can get 2 payouts, but they have to get over, what was it, 60 million streams or something like it. I don't know. This is a story I found. I'll be sure to link it so y'all can look at it, because it was kind of intense. For anybody that cares about Spotify, it's, I make music on the side as well, so that's definitely something I pay attention to. I never really understood what they were talking about until, you get on Spotify and you're getting 800, 900 plays, and you're like, oh, that should be about like what, $20, and you look and it's like $1.60. You're like, oh, okay. I think my little, because there's a company that I distribute through, and they have like a thing where you can see how much you've earned, but you don't have to pull it. Like you can leave it there and let it accumulate, and then you can pull it out at will, or just leave it there, or whatever you want to do. I think I've left it for like over 2 years now, and I think I'm up to $7. $7 for 2 years of work. It's crazy how that's a thing. But I understand CEOs of company, they got to make money too. But there's got to be a line somewhere, or like a compromise just waiting to happen, I would think. But yeah, some interesting stuff, I thought. Excuse me, just taking a drink here. Okay. Let's see, what do I have on the agenda here? Say agenda, I had some. Okay, just hitting the mic stand, making a hellacious amount of noise. Let me see. I had some stuff written down. Let me see if I can find it here. Talking about, yes, we have what's going on in Ukraine. That's kind of crazy. And the fact now that the Russians are being accused of war crimes, killing civilians, executing them. They found bodies with their hands tied, shot in the head. They recently did a prisoner exchange. They exchanged a bunch of female soldiers for Russian soldiers, prisoner exchange. A lot of people thought it's kind of weird that it's all women. It's like, well, yeah, they probably killed all the men, right? Like, I don't know. Who knows? It's Russia. You never really know what you're going to get. I mean, you kind of have an idea, though, if track record is anything. And, crazy world. Like, people's biggest concern is Putin gonna nuke us? Honestly, it's hard to say. I don't think he will, because he understands once you go that route, that's a no return situation. Once you've done that, you've crossed the line with the entire world, and generally the entire world doesn't look too favorably on somebody nuking a sovereign state when you're not in a state of all-out war like World War III, or like World War II was, where it was literally, we just want it over. Like, we're just tired of this shit, and we know that if we go to take this country, Japan in question, it would be a bloodbath. So they took, I guess, what they figured to be the lesser of two evils. Which, you're fucked if you start having the lesser of two evils conversation. If you've gotten to that point, you know that you were just eating a shit sandwich. Like, your leader is so bad, or the situation, I should say, is so bad that you're that shouldn't be a conversation. Especially, there's certain topics where that shouldn't have to be a thing. You shouldn't have to say, well, the lesser of two evils is your decision. And one of those things, I think, at least, is politics. Like, or the doctor's on picking a doctor, or it's it's strange. And intentions as well, where people say, oh, well, I did this with good intentions. It's like, what's that saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions? Like, what does he say in Jurassic Park 3? Alan says, some of the worst things imaginable have been done with the best of intentions. And it's a movie about dinosaurs eating people, but it's still true. I think you can find inspiration in things that weren't intended to be inspirational, or they're fictional. It's interesting to me. It's a good saying. And I didn't mean for X to happen. It's like, well, X did happen, regardless of how you meant it, or regardless of what your intention was. You still did the thing, and there's consequences for that. And with that, it does look like we're getting to our 30-minute mark. This has been the first episode of what I am titling, probably, I'm thinking Vigorous Self-Love is a good name. And we'll go ahead and wrap this up here. Thanks for listening, guys. I had a lot of fun. It was good to talk. I hadn't done it in a long time, just sitting here and just vamping and just letting it go off the dome. So it was a lot of fun. We'll keep this up, and Yeah, thanks for watching, guys, or listening, I should say, and we'll catch you on the next one. Have a great night.